834 has been withdrawn. We have been advised. Honourable First Member for La Caverne and Phoenix.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. PQB 814, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that on the 29th of August 2025, Mrs. KDJH, officer in charge of the Mauritius Investment Company, made a declaration at the Central CID regarding an article on school.mu. That was on the 29th of August. On the 11th of September of the same year, that is this year, another declaration was lodged by one Mr. T.S., CEO of Elysium Capital, concerning posts against him on the same platform. Both cases were formally recorded for breach of the Information and Communications Technologies Act. I am further informed by the police that they attempted to obtain the statement of Mr. N.J., the alleged author of these posts, by calling him over the phone several times, but I am informed that he was unreachable. As per the established practice, a case conference was held at the level of the Central CID, comprising of senior-most officers, where it was decided to make an application for a search warrant under the breach of Section 46(1)(ga) of the Information and Communication Technologies Act at the QPIP District Court. The Commissioner of Police was not informed of the decision taken by the police officers. On the 12th of September 2025, on the basis of the search warrant, 4 Central CID officers in 1 police vehicle proceeded to the residence of Mr. N.J. There was also another vehicle of the Divisional Crime Intelligence Unit on the spot. I am informed that Mr. N.J. was told of the purpose of the visit of the police. He was requested to hand over his communication and IT equipment. I am informed that Mr. N.J. grew vexed and threw his 2 mobile phones on the floor. Subsequently, electronic equipment, including the 2 mobile phones suspected to have been used in the commission of the alleged offences, was secured for examination. Mr. N.J. voluntarily accompanied police officers of the Cybercrime Unit, and he admitted being the author of the post. I am informed by the police that he was informed of his constitutional rights, including the right to silence and to legal representation, which I am told he exercised. I am also informed that he was provided with communication facilities to contact his lawyer at the Central CID. After examination of the 2 mobile phones, they were handed over to Mr. N.J. and he was later allowed to go after the inquiry. Investigation in both cases are ongoing. Madam Speaker, ever since the beginning of the mandate of this government, I made it clear on numerous occasions that both in this House and during my address to the nation on the 1st of January of this year, that I consider respect for human rights and the application of Section 5(1) and Section 5(2) of the Constitution as the bedrock of any civilized society. Under no circumstances will the government allow any violation of human rights as we saw under the previous regime. My government will always uphold the sanctity of human rights and dignity of all our citizens. Therefore, I ask the Commissioner of Police to carry out an inquiry into the action taken by the police officers. Upon the outcome of the inquiry, appropriate disciplinary actions will be taken. However, pending the outcome of the internal inquiry, 6 police officers have already been transferred to other divisions so as not to jeopardize the exercise.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Yes, Mr. Levin.
Yes, thank you. May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, with regard to the use of Section 46 of the ICT Act, will government consider bringing amendments to this particular legislation with the view of it being in conjunction with Section 5 of our Constitution, because there are being an abuse of provisional charges and cases lodged under this particular section, this particular in-favour section of the ICT Act. Will government consider amending this Act?
As we had said when we presented the government program, for example, the provisional charges will go. It's being worked out by the Attorney General at the moment. We will look at all aspects of all what you've just mentioned.
Yes, Leader of the Opposition. Is that
Thank you,
all right?
Madam Speaker. The Prime Minister again is confirming that the Commissioner of Police was not made aware of the arrest of that journalist. Did he inquire from the Commissioner of Police why he made the statement "nun faire ce qui bizarre faire"? What does that mean?
In fact, I did, and he said he was referring to the fact that the mobile phones were thrown and they were then taken away with the electronic document. In that sense, he was saying what had to be done had to be done.
Yes, yes, Mr. Bichu.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Monsieur le Premier ministre, récemment, il y a eu un jugement de la Cour concernant la protection des sources des journalistes. Est-ce que le Premier ministre peut nous assurer que dorénavant, s'il y a des cas où les journalistes sont concernés, au moins et qu'il y ait une protection des sources des journalistes et que leurs outils de travail ne soient pas saisis?
I think that is the case, but when there were allegations, they had to check whether it was done or not done.
All right, yes. Next question, Mr. Honourable First Member for Savan.
Thank you.
Mr. Babaji, yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. B815.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed that following the passage and damage caused by Tropical Cyclone Belal in January 2024, the then Ministry of Local Government and the Disaster Risk Management had approached the then Attorney General's office for one of its officers, assisted by technical advisor at the Mauritius Meteorological Services, to prepare an independent report on whether the then director of the Mauritius Meteorological Services had failed to advise the National Crisis Committee on the proper trajectory of the cyclone. The report, prepared by an Assistant Solicitor General and a technical advisor at the Mauritius Meteorological Services, was submitted to the then Ministry of Local Government and Disaster Risk Management on the 20th of June 2024. Therein it was concluded that there had been clear indications that Tropical Cyclone Belal was dangerously approaching Mauritius over the period of time spanning from 14th of January 2024 at 0400 hours to the 15th of January 2024 at 22.00 hours, and that the then director had failed to advise the National Crisis Committee on the proper trajectory of Tropical Cyclone Belal. Madam Speaker, I must state that the government is not satisfied with the findings of the so-called independent report on the basis of which Dr. Audi was made to retire in the interest of the public service as per PSC Regulations 2039. He subsequently entered a court case to contest that decision, but was encouraged to withdraw the case, and he did so on the 6th of October 2025. In fact, it appears that Dr. Audi would have been made a scapegoat to cover the previous government's blunder. After a thorough assessment of the report, some very disturbing facts have emerged as to the information to the public about impending torrential rains that had been issued, which had appeared on the government portal on the eve of the dramatic events of the 15th of January 2024. The communique was subsequently deleted for unknown reasons. There are also indications that the former Prime Minister already had planned socio-cultural events to attend in the afternoon of the 15th of January 2024, and that there could very well be a linkage between the occurrences that I mentioned. Madam Speaker, in the light of the above, further investigation will be conducted to establish the sequence of events and whether there was a deliberate deletion of the flood warnings. Necessary action will be taken accordingly to ensure that natural justice prevails.
Thank you. Yes, all right. Yes, Mr. Ramdas.
PQB 816, please.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I will reply to parliamentary question B816 and B836 together as they are connected. As enunciated in the government program of 2020 2025-2029, the government's foremost mission is to revitalize democratic principles, reinforce good governance, and pursue constitutional reforms designed to enhance public confidence in the autonomy of state institutions. In this endeavor, my government is committed to set up a constitutional review commission mandated to propose wide-range constitutional, electoral, and governance reforms which will include, but will not be limited to, the revision of our electoral system to better reflect the will of the people, bolstering fundamental rights by introducing new generation rights relating to the environment, technology, health education, and socio-economic issues, as well as the rights of nature. And third, the introduction of a comprehensive legislation on political party funding to ensure transparency and fair elections. Madam Speaker, as constitutional review is a very complex and sensitive matter which requires experts with constitutional acumen and understanding of the specific Mauritian paradigm. In this context, the Attorney General is working on the setting up of the Commission and will submit proposals shortly. This inclusion of the rights of nature in the Constitution will therefore be looked into by the Constitutional Review Commission in a holistic manner together with constitutional amendments.
Yes?
Madam
Yes.
Speaker, may we have an indication as to the composition of the Commission, if that has been decided already?
As far as I know, the Attorney General is looking into the composition. We would like to have people who know Constitution, but also, as far as possible, local people.
Yes, Ms. Tanu, one moment. Ms. Tanu, your question was answered, right? It seems to me. Do you want a supplementary question? No. Yes, Mr. Bin, yes?
May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, with regard to the time frame as to when this commission will be set up?
It will be set up as soon as possible because we want to look at all these aspects, including electoral reform. We want to proceed with electoral reform early, not at the end of the mandate. So this will be starting very soon.
Okay. Right. Now I will call Honourable Third Member for Grand Bay, Poudre-d'Or, Mr. Etwaria.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Ma question 817, s'il vous plaît.
Madam Speaker, the Honourable Member states in his question, in July of 2025, the IMF raised its growth projections for the world economy from 2.8% to 3% for 2025 and from 3% to 1.1% for 2026. The IMF will release its updated forecast, I believe, next Tuesday. As for the Mauritian economy, the IMF had in April of 2025 projected a real GDP growth rate of 3% for both 2025 and 2026. Following the Article 4 consultations, the IMF has, in its staff report released in June of this year, maintained the growth forecast for Mauritius for 2025 at 3%, but upgraded the forecast for 2026 from 3% to 3.4%. Madam Speaker, according to figures released recently by Statistics Mauritius, the real GDP growth for Mauritius for 2025 is expected to be slightly higher, that is 3.1%. This growth is being driven mainly by the financial services sector and the tourism sector. In fact, we are expecting some 1,425,000 tourist arrivals this year, the first time that we will exceed the pre-pandemic level. Madam Speaker, as I have announced in the budget speech, we are doing away with the inherited consumption-driven approach and adopting a new economic model that will be investment-led, productivity-based, and export-driven. This implies a fundamental restructuring of our economy that will be achieved over time. We are expecting a significant improvement in the output for the Mauritian economy, particularly for 2026 and beyond. This is mainly due to the following factors. First, we are further diversifying the economy with the development of 4 key, what we call pôles de croissance, namely the renewable energy sector, waste to wealth initiatives, the blue economy, and the creative industries. Second, we're in the process of finalizing different incentive schemes announced in the budget speech. These will give a significant boost to investment in various sectors of the economy. Third, we are unlocking some 30 billion rupees of investment in the renewable energy sector over the next 3 years. Fourth, we are reviewing the role and functions of the Economic Development Board so that it focuses on boosting productive investments and export promotion across all sectors of the economy. Fifth, the Ministry of Finance is currently working with different ministries and institutions, including the National Productivity and Competitiveness Council, to give a boost to productivity growth across the sectors, all sectors of the economy. And sixth, the renewal of AGOA for 1 year following our intense diplomatic efforts and negotiations provide a degree of certainty for our exporters to the US market. Madam Speaker, we are also harnessing the investment and export opportunities from our trade agreements such as the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the Comprehensive Economic Cooperation and Partnership Agreement with India, and the Free Trade Agreement with China. Furthermore, with assistance from India under the Special Economic Package that we just received to the tune of $600 million US dollars, which was secured, as I said, during my recent visit, we will implement a number of priority projects in strategic sectors such as port development, road infrastructure, healthcare, and energy. As with regard to inflation, the Bank of Mauritius is projecting an inflation rate of around 4% in 2025, which remains firmly anchored around the bank's target range, which is 2 to 5%. Latest information from Statistics Mauritius indicates that inflation will remain below 4%. Indeed, the CPI index has decreased by 0.1 and 0.2 points in August and September, respectively. Madam Speaker, we have taken a number of measures to curb inflationary pressures and protect the purchasing power of the population. These include, one, raising the policy rate by 50 basis points to 4.5% per annum in February of this year. Secondly, by increasing the supply of forex in the domestic foreign exchange market to prevent a rapid depreciation of the rupee. Third, removal of VAT on a number of basic necessities as announced in the budget speech. And fourth, the establishment of a price stabilization fund of 10 billion rupees, out of which we are already providing subsidies on 5 essential commodities. We are working on a second set of essential commodities. Madam Speaker, as the responsible government, we are closely monitoring developments both domestically and on the international front. We will take appropriate measures in order to achieve our objective of a real GDP growth path of 4 to 5% by the end of our mandate, while keeping inflation within the target range set by the Bank of Mauritius.
Yes. Yes.
Next question.
Yes. Yes, supplementary.
May I ask the Honourable Prime Minister whether he will agree that inflation rate of 4% as predicted will be exceeded because of the recent increases in the prices of commodities, and also because the VAT that is being imposed on SMEs. We have seen recently the prices of dolpuri. If I may use that sentence again, dolpuri monte au galba, Madam Speaker. Okay?
In fact, the leader of said he has a short memory. Do you remember what inflation was when you were in government? This is, we are clearing the mess that you left. At one point it was nearly 10%. Now we're bringing it. And if you had listened, we are saying 4%, but the indication, or it might be lesser, it's slightly lesser than 4%.
Yes, Honourable First Member for La Caverne Phoenix.
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker. PQB 1818, please.
Madam Madam Speaker, the National Human Rights Commission has already, as I'm sure the Honourable Member knows, submitted this report on the incidents which occurred at the Eastern High Security Prison at Melrose on 17th of July 2025. Regard to Part A of the question, I have to inform the House that Government has taken cognizance of the contents of the report, which has been made public for the first time. If you remember, the previous government, all reports were being hidden in drawers. In line with our policy of transparency and accountability, I will table a copy of the report. Madam Speaker, I'm concerned by the disturbing facts that came out of the report. As I've just stated in the House, I consider that human rights, respect for human rights, and the application of Section 5.1 and Section 5.2 of the Constitution are the bedrock of any civilized society. My government will always uphold the sanctity of human rights and dignity for all our citizens. Any trespass will not be tolerated by the government. In regard to Part B of the question, the Commissioner of Police and the Commissioner of Prisons have been requested to take immediate actions, not only for the implementation of the measures recommended, but also the necessary disciplinary actions against the officers concerned, but after consultation with the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution.
Yes, no, yes. Dr. Umir, yes?
May I ask the Honorable Prime Minister whether he would request the Commissioner of Police and the Commissioner of Prisons to consider the use of full body cam by all prison officers who work at such a high security prison so that the truthful events always come to light.
It's a very good suggestion, and I will certainly, we are in fact looking at this, but this will probably happen at some stage. I must also tell you that I had said at the time that don't come and tell me some cameras were not working. If that happens, everybody will be sacked. Fortunately, all cameras were working.
All right. Yes, yes, go ahead.
Madam Speaker,
Question, please.
Yeah, I appreciate that the report has been made public, Madam Speaker, because that was a very, let's say,
Let him speak, please.
you can't be interrupted, Madam Speaker, when I'm putting my question.
I'm
You have
trying.
to put question.
Carry on.
I said that I
Carry on.
appreciate that the report has been made public, but when I compare, Madam Speaker, reply to the PNQ that I put to the Prime Minister on the 22nd of July on the same issue, with the report that has been made public, I note a certain number of discrepancies between the two, the report and the answers that the Prime Minister
Put
gave
your
to
question.
the House. Maybe he must have been provided by false information on that day.
What discrepancies?
My question is direct.
Discrepancies. You can't just say the
May I
discrepancies
ask
and you don't say
the
what.
Honourable Prime Minister whether he will sack the Commissioner of Prisons?
That is his, this is his question.
Yeah, what can I say? He doesn't say what this woman said, but he must realize.
This is what
when
the
the-
population is asking.
But please listen, realize, unlike you, when you ask the question, I answered the question. I could have said there's going to be an inquiry, but I gave you whatever I had. After the inquiry, as I said, very disturbing facts came. After the inquiry, how can I know before? But how do you expect me to know before the inquiry?
On the basis of the report?
Of the report, yes. That's why I just said. That is why we are publishing. We have published it. We are laying it on the table of assembly. We're not hiding, unlike you, when you were in government, hiding all these reports. We didn't do that.
Madam Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Prime Minister, I am glad that he did publish the report. That is commendable. However, the Commissioner of Prison, soon after the incident, had reacted saying that he's proud of his officers and he's proud of them, the way they acted, and that he would take full responsibility. Is the Prime Minister satisfied of the stand taken by the Commissioner of Prison soon after those incidents? And has he had any discussion with the Commissioner of Prison with regards to that?
But as I said, Madam Speaker, I've asked them to do Now, with the report out, we have to have full investigation, and also you must contact the DPP. It's not for me to say that, it's for the DPP to decide what action has to be taken.
All right, next question. Next question, Ms. Honourable Third Member for Rivière des Anguilles.
Thank you,
Please.
Madam Speaker. B819.
Madam Speaker, with regard to Part A of the question, I'm informed by the Commissioner of Police that since January 2022 up to the 2nd of October 2025, a total of 237 cases related to rage incidents and violent or aggressive behavior on the roads have been reported to the police, involving 394 drivers. Out of these, 200 drivers were classified as victims, representing 51%, while 194 drivers were classified as perpetrators, representing 49%. I'm further informed that in a number of cases, multiple drivers were involved in the same incident, with one or more drivers recorded as victims and one or more as perpetrators, which explains, in fact, the discrepancy between the total number of reported cases and the number of drivers concerned. In regards to Part B of the question, I wish to inform the House that government, in collaboration with the police, has strengthened measures to protect road users and combat such dangerous behavior. These include the reintroduction of the new penalty points in January 2026, with severe sanctions against reckless and anti-social practices as well as illegal races. Secondly, to enhance patrol presence, police officers, including riders, are now daily deployed on strategic locations to regulate traffic near schools, bus terminals, light rail stations, and commercial centers. Thirdly, an awareness campaign in schools, shopping malls, and public transport, also at the light rail stations, is being carried out. Fourthly, optimal use of the Safe City surveillance system for swift intervention is being done. And finally, targeted crackdown operations near nightclubs and entertainment venues with particular focus on drink and drive offences. Madam Speaker, let me assure the House that government remains fully committed to ensuring the safety of all road users and maintaining order on our roads.
Yes, yes. Okay. The second member for Rivière des Anguilles. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, of course. One moment, Mr. Jamal.
May I ask the Prime Minister, with regards to the use of unlawful weapons, illicit, des armes, couteaux, etc., etc., does the Prime Minister propose to urgently ensure that there are stops and searches being effected, roadblocks, like it used to be by the SMF, by the SSU, regularly, especially in areas that are well known to be hotspots?
I understand that this is being done, but we don't want to give too much publicity. You know, it's a country that attracts tourists. We don't want to give this impression that it is a police state, but it is being done.
All right. Mr. Jaman, please.
Question 820, please.
Madam Speaker, I'm informed by the Bank of Mauritius that in respect of loans provided by financial institutions, the fees, charges, and security requirements are determined by these institutions themselves in line with the internal policies and risk assessment. However, by virtue of Section 6 of the Bank of Mauritius Act 2004, the Bank of Mauritius has the power to regulate the fees and charges in respect of services provided by these financial institutions and impose such limitation on the quantum of those fees and charges as it may deem appropriate. In this context, the Bank of Mauritius constantly monitors the fees and charges that these financial institutions are imposing. In fact, in accordance with Section 57 of the Banking Act 2004, these financial services should at all times display in a conspicuous place in the public part of the principal place of business and in each of the branches or offices the rates of fees or charges being imposed. In addition, with a view to enhancing transparency and enabling the public to make an informed choice, financial institutions are required to upload information on their fees and charges on both their websites and on the website of the Bank of Mauritius. Furthermore, these financial institutions are required to inform the Bank of Mauritius whenever they change their fees and their charges. Madam Speaker, the Bank of Mauritius thus examines any change in the fees and charges and may query them on the reasons for such increases, and if need be, to intervene in the safeguard the interests of customers and the public in general. But as I said at the beginning, these are determined by the financial institutions themselves, and it depends on their internal policies and the risk assessment.
Thank you. Time is up for the moment. No, time is up. I have B825. I've been advised that the following PQs have been withdrawn. B825, B830, B835, B821, B824, B828, and B829. Now we go to questions addressed to honourable ministers. The Honourable First Member for Roderick, Ms. Colette.
B838, please.
Madam Speaker, I will seek your indulgence because the reply is quite lengthy and it will be free in one.
You don't want to circulate?
Sorry?
You don't want to group partly and then circulate?
In the light of concern expressed, in the light of
all right.
what people want to hear, let me reply to the question.
All right.
Madam Speaker, with your permission, I will reply to parliamentary question B/838, B/845, and B/857. Concurrently, other relate to the same subject.
85, the last one was 85? 7, okay.
All right, thank you. As a responsible government and a dog-loving country, it is our duty to ensure that animal welfare laws are strengthened to advocate inter alia for responsible dog ownership and the well-being of the population in view of the risks associated with stray dogs. The issue of stray dogs is acute and chronic and remains one of the top priorities of our ministry. I'm informed by the Mauritius Society for Animal Welfare that the total owned dog population in Mauritius is estimated at around 246,000, including both dogs that are kept restricted to the owner's properties and those roam freely. Nearly 20% of these, according to AMSOR, owned dogs roam outside, contributing to a street population estimated at approximately 57,000. But in my assessment, the number is far higher. A key challenge for street dog welfare is the lack of responsible and informed pet ownership. On the 1st October 2025, Madam Speaker, Section 31, subsection 1 and 3 of the Animal Welfare Act have been proclaimed and provide for microchipping and registration of dogs only, and make it compulsory for dog owners to register their dogs. This regulatory framework will enable AMSOR to promote sustainable control of dog population, enhance responsible pet ownership, reduce animal cruelty, and minimize health hazards associated with stray dogs. The registration process is conducted by AMSOR, where the owner of the dog is required to fill in an application form for registration. The dogs are being microchipped on site, and the dog owners will have to produce relevant documents, namely the national ID card and proof of address at time of registration. Subsequently, the AMSOR will issue a registration certificate to the owner. The AMSOR will also enter into an MOU with private veterinary practices for microchipping and registration. Madam Speaker, in line with the principle of good governance, government is ensuring a system which is transparent, safe, and which will be closely monitored for the microchipping and registration of dogs. In that context, MSO will launch an expression of interest to enlist services of private vet consultation. The collaboration of NGOs will also be enlisted for microchipping and registration during the sterilization campaign, and in same spirit, MSO will ensure that the NGOs are registered as proper entity dealing with welfare of animals, B, are registered with the Data Protection Office, since they will be dealing with personal information of dog owners, C, undertake to provide all information with regard to the pet owner and the dog to the MSO. D, enlist the services of a veterinarian registered with the Vet Council of Mauritius, who is mandated under the Dangerous Drugs Act to administer regulated drugs such as xylazine and ketamine, which is in the second and third schedule respectively. Of course, these being used in sterilization. Madam Speaker, with a view to monitoring the registration of dogs, MSO will keep a database in accordance with the provisions of the Data Protection Act. The onus to inform MSO of any death or transfer of ownership of a dog lies with the owner, which can be done via telephone or email. To widen coverage, microchipping and registration are being extended to municipal councils, community centers, and village halls up to June 2026. Moreover, the Commissioner of Police has agreed for registration and microchipping to be undertaken within the compound of police stations island-wide. A calendar for the exercise has been tentatively worked out from the 13th October to 23rd December 2025. And I will table the list of all dedicated centers and stations. At this stage, no amendment is being envisaged to the Animal Welfare Act, as the decentralization process island-wide is happening de facto. MSO has currently 2 stations dedicated for the microchipping and registration of dogs located in Rosil and Plaine Magnon respectively. As of 6 October 2025, a total of 853 dogs has been registered and microchipped. Since October 2025, the MSO has set the fees for the registration of dogs at the rate of 350, that is a reduction from the actual fees of 500 rupees, which include registration and veterinary fees, as well as microchipping. Madam Speaker, as a caring government and our concern on animal lovers, the MSO is promoting mass sterilization campaign whereby dogs are being microchipped, registered, and sterilized free of charge, given a number of hardship cases have been observed and a flexible approach is being adopted. The MSO has scheduled meetings with registered NGOs to encourage grassroots participation through interactive sessions and dialogue for transparency and accountability. Transportation is made available on a case-to-case basis. With regard to budget allocation, I'm informed that an amount of 20 million has been provided for the MSO in the financial year 2025-2026 for the implementation of the sterilization campaign, including microchipping and registration. Honourable members will appreciate that the extension of the exercise to other domestic animals cannot be contemplated. Concerning the implementation and monitoring for Rodrigue, I'm informed by the MSO that an MOU was signed with Rodrigue's Regional Assembly, represented by the Commission for Agriculture in 2022, for the implementation of the National Sustainable Project for Dog Population Control in Rodrigue. During the last mission of MSO to Rodrigue in November 2023, regarding the mass sterilization campaign over the island, officers of the veterinary services of Rodrigue were trained on dog registration procedures. The list of designated centers to undertake microchipping and registration in Rodrigue will be determined in coordination with the Commission for Agriculture and the Division of Veterinary Services. In this context, a mission will be undertaken to Rodrigue to ensure smooth implementation of dog registration across the island. For effective monitoring, Madam Speaker, MSO will collaborate with Commission for Agriculture to collect relevant information, and visit will be conducted by enforcement officers of MSO to ensure proper implementation and compliance with the legal framework. The list of officers from MSO Enforcement Department assigned to ensure compliance is Mr. Simanas Samiane, Mr. Spandu, Mrs. Kalu Lebon, and the team is led by Mr. Govindasamy, Director of MSO. Madam Speaker, our interest is to safeguard the welfare of all animals. In that context, my ministry and MSO are working in close collaboration with all like-minded stakeholders, registered NGOs, vet and pet owners.
Thank you, Minister. Ms. Colette, you have a question? Dr. Paraya, yes? That was three
Thank
in
you
one.
for your
We had 3 in 1. So it's a good thing you asked.
Exactly. Can the House be made aware about when the MOU will be signed with the private veterinary doctors? And secondly, is the ministry considering to permit new private vehicles for transportation of animals, dogs, in the near future because of these changes? Thank you.
I cannot give you the exact date as to when the MOU will be signed, but we're going to move the process as fast as possible. As to enlistment of transport services, we'll look into it further.
Mr. Edouard, you have a question? Thank you very much. Yes? Yes, Mr. Francois?
Yes, thank you, Madam Speaker, if you allow me. Madam Speaker, we are talking also about microchipping is compulsory for dog registration. May I seize this opportunity to request the Honourable Minister to look into the issue of non-availability of microchipping for live sheep and goats exportation from Mauritius to Mauritius?
Yeah, this issue has been raised by the vets because usually goods and cattle imported from Rodrigue are microchipped, but the ears are going to be tagged.
Okay, one more, Mr. Payag, and then you.
Is there improper legislation? Is the ministry considering to put any legislation to prevent dog breeders, dog owners to tamper with microchips, to remove microchips and to tamper with them?
Very good question. Only those who are properly trained will be allowed to microchip the dogs, okay? And you need to have people who are trained by specialized vets. And it's a course which is very effective, but done by those only who have the acumen to do so.
Okay, Leader of the Opposition.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The Honourable Minister is a seasoned politician, Madam Speaker. This is a case of après la mort, la tisane. Can I
L'amour
ask...
ou la mort?
La mort. L'amour. Can I ask the Honourable Minister whether he would confirm to the House that the procurement for those microchips were only 15,000 and there are only 1,000 microchips available at the MSO?
No, but this is an exercise for which tender was called for. The moment these microchips are going to be used, there'll be fresh tender called for. But we'll proceed in a graded manner, step by step, and we're reaching out for a great outreach, much to your displeasure.
Yes, Mr. Duval.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, may I ask the Honourable Minister, given the total chaos that has surrounded this measure, the total chaos which has surrounded the implementation of this measure, may we know when will the offences be implemented by the police, by his ministry, firstly, and secondly, when does he expect total registration to be completed? And I hope that the imposition of fines and other offences will await la date butoir, which should be in a much longer term.
Well, the chaos is within the rank and file of the opposition, Madam Speaker. As far as we are concerned, we are addressing this problem in a very forceful manner with a humane and ecological approach. And we are getting the results. Why? Because even those who are reluctant to come are coming forward. And you can rest assured we will deliver.
Don't argue. Another question? One moment.
The
Yes.
question was very simple. When will the offences be implemented?
Offences cannot be implemented.
When will the offences become, when will the police and his ministry start application of the offences? And when does he think that the program will be fully completed?
If you can give us...
Madam Speaker, the honourable member is acting like a fool. Only a fool like him will rush in where there is no need to tread. There is time given, and within the space, we are...
What is that space?
Well, there are 120 days, during which time, okay, we will reach out to as many people as possible. And since in relation to the offence, not going to be applied, with a hammer on the table, okay? Things will be done diligently and in a very humane manner.
I'm giving you, but not the same question.
Madam Speaker, the question is, what happens today, now that the law is entré en vigueur, what happens if a dog causes an incident? Will the police be mandated to charge that person for failing to register the dog or not? And until such time, when will the police be mandated?
One moment. It's very simple. The law must be applied once it's the law.
Madam Speaker, as I said, the law will be applied, but it will not be applied abruptly and against the right of individuals.
Okay, that's enough on this question. We are only on the first question, so I think we can move on now. Honourable Second Member for Savannah Black River, Mr. Jagannath. 1 moment.
Madam Speaker, please. B3839.
That's it. B839. Minister of Local Government. Straightforward answer, please.
Yes, Madam. Yes, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the construction of the new Chemin Grenier Market Fair started on 11 October 2021 and was initially scheduled to be completed by 10 October 2022. Following the approval of the Central Procurement Board, the contract was awarded to RB Construction Limited on 31st August 2021 for an amount of 107.5 million rupees, and this figure includes a contingency sum of 5 million rupees excluding VAT, after a discount of 12.5 million rupees. The contractor took possession of the site on 27 September 2021. Madam Speaker, I am advised that the project faced several unforeseen challenges during implementation, which caused delays. And I am tabling a comprehensive report outlining the detailed reasons for the delay in the completion of the Chemin Grenier Market Fair, which includes the adverse climate conditions, including frequent heavy rainfall and flooding on site, non-performance of the former project manager, who was also the appointed architect for the project, changes in the scope of the substructure due to the topography of the land, unavailability of expatriate labor faced by the contractor resulting from the restrictive policies of the outgoing government, additional works allocated to the contractor for the construction of drainage system, and poor project management by the District Council of Savannah, among others contributing factors. Madam Speaker, I am informed by the District Council of Savannah that the project will be fully completed within the next 2 weeks. This will be followed by an expression of interest exercise for the allocation of stalls to vendors. It is expected that the Chemin Grenier Market Fair will become operational by mid-December 2025. Thank you.
Yes, Honourable Third Member for Vieux-Grand-Port-Rospel.
Speaker, PQ B840, please.
Madam Speaker, waste carriers normally proceed to Marchico's landfill via Cluny Road B83, starting from its junction with the Phoenix Plaisance Road A10, over a length of 8 kilometers with a road width of 3 meters each in both directions. Due to the constant movement of the waste carriers and with the expansion of the landfill, increased pressure is being exerted on Cluny Road, representing road safety hazards along the Cluny Road and at the Nouvelle France roundabout on the motorway M1. Madam Speaker, in July 2018, the then Ministry of Public Infrastructure and Land Transport, in collaboration with other concerned ministries, was requested to undertake a survey on the current traffic of waste carriers to Marchicos and thereafter to look for alternative access road bypassing Cluny and other villages in the vicinity. The Road Development Authority was accordingly requested to undertake the survey, and the latter had in 2019 worked out an alternative alignment of a total length of 5.2 kilometers, consisting of upgrading works along B83 Road over a length of 950 meters and construction of a new road over a length of 4.25 kilometers. The cost estimate for the project amounted to 523 million, inclusive of VAT. However, the matter was not pursued further due to the high cost involved. Madam Speaker, in May 2024, the matter was revived and the RDA was requested to review its proposal for the alternative access to Marchicos. In October 2024, the RDA updated the cost estimate from its initial proposal to 891 million, inclusive of VAT. The latter additionally submitted a second proposal comprising the construction of a totally new road starting on the motorway M1 from the access road leading to Bimanic Stone Crusher Limited at Nouvelle France, passing through vegetation areas far away from inhabited zones over a length of 4.25 kilometers to end after the village of Cluny onto the Cluny Road B83. The estimated cost of this second option is approximately 850 million, inclusive of VAT. Madam Speaker, upon assumption of office, I took note of the matter at a management meeting on RDA projects held on 21st January 2025, during which I expressed concern regarding the feasibility of implementing the project should the Marchicos landfill be relocated in the future. It was accordingly decided that the project would be kept in abeyance for the time being, as its implementation would depend on the priorities set by government. The Ministry of Environment, Solid Waste Management and Climate Change has apprised that there is currently no project or proposal for the relocation of the Marchicos landfill. Previous attempts to identify an alternative site for landfill development during the years 2015-2016 were unsuccessful. The contract for the vertical expansion of the existing landfill, awarded in June 2024, is expected to extend its operational lifespan by approximately 15 years. A decision will be taken in due course as regards the provision of an alternative access road to Marchicos.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'm perfectly aware of the financial constraint as enumerated by the Honourable Minister. However, I do learn as well that the survey has been carried out since as far back as July 2018. There is a bridge at Bimanic which is used by these heavy trailers, which is clearly not adapted for these types of vehicles, and the road, as stated by the Honourable Minister himself, is way too narrow for these types of vehicles. So would the Honourable Minister consider this as a matter of priority, as it's a matter of concern, both from an environmental point of view and in terms of safety to the road users of Bimanic and the surroundings?
Yes, Minister.
Yeah. As with regard to the Bimanic Stone Crusher, the bridge, it has been worked out, and probably this bridge we can consider to upgrade it.
Yes. Okay, next question. Mr. Edouard, fourth member for Rodrigues.
Madam Speaker, B841.
Thank you.
Madam Speaker, at the outset I wish to reassure the House that government is fully conscious of the shortage of nursing staff in our health institutions, including Rodrigues. Madam Speaker, as regards enlistment in the nursing cadre, I am informed that under the present framework, the entry grade is trainee nurse. trainee nurses are presently required to undergo a 3-year training program. The program comprises theoretical and practical components in all aspects of the work of a nursing officer at approved institutions. On successful completion of this program, which includes the passing of an examination leading to the award of the National Diploma Level 6 in Nursing, trainee nurses become eligible for registration with Nursing Council of Mauritius. Upon such registration, they may be considered for appointment as nursing officers, subject to availability of vacancies. Those who do not meet the entry criteria for the National Diploma in Nursing at the School of Nursing may opt to pursue training at Polytechnics Mauritius Limited. These courses are also accredited and awarded by Mauritius Institute of Health. Madam Speaker, the current scheme of service does not allow direct enlistment of nurses trained in institutions other than courses run by the ministry. I am further informed that the current scheme of service is being reviewed so as to make provision for the recruitment of duly registered nurses trained in other institutions in the absence of qualified trainee nurses. This proposal is currently being examined by the Public Service Commission. As you may be aware, it takes a number of years to train a nursing officer. However, the previous government did not recruit adequate number of nurses in order to ensure availability of sufficient number of nurses. It is only this year, in the budget speech of 25-26, that provision has been made for the enlistment of 1,000 nurses over the next 3 years. A first batch of 300 training nurses has already been enlisted since 22nd September 2025, and the training will start this month. My ministry further plans to enlist 500 nurses in the next financial year and 200 in financial year 27-28. Thus, in the coming years, we will have sufficient number of trained nurses to cater for our public. Madam Speaker, moreover, as an immediate measure to palliate the shortage of nursing officers, my ministry has already enlisted the services of 36 nursing officers on a sessional basis. My ministry is also considering the enlistment of additional 90 nurses. As regards Rodrigue Island, I am informed that the recruitment of nurses is carried out by Rodrigue Regional Assembly, and the courses are dispensed by Polytechnics Mauritius and the School of Nursing. A batch of 166 students presently following courses at the School of Nursing, including 29 students from Rodrigue, are expected to complete the Diploma in Nursing course by June 2026.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, Mr. Edouard, no? It's okay. All right. Honourable First Member for Piton, Rivière du Rempart.
B842, please.
Madam Speaker, according to the Housing and Population Census 2022, Mauritius had a total of 86,607 persons with disabilities, of whom 82,815 were aged 16 years and above. 42,674 persons were retired, 6,009 were employed, while 927 were actively seeking employment. And I'm herewith tabling the relevant data of the Housing and Population Census 2022. As regard to Part A of the question, I am informed that by the Ministry of Public Service and Administrative Reforms that there are 110 persons with disabilities who are employed in the public sector. With regard to data for the private sector, I am informed that the Ministry of Labour and Industrial Relations keeps no such record at its level. According to the register of persons with disabilities kept at the level of the Training and Employment of Disabled Persons Board, which is the parastatal body falling under the aegis of my ministry, there are only 527 persons with disabilities who are registered with the board searching for an employment or training. Only around 900 employers employing more than 35 persons with disabilities are registered with the board. At present, the Training and Employment of Disabled Persons Act 1996 provides that all employers with a workforce of 35 or more must employ 3% of their staff among persons with disabilities. The Act also requires the maintenance of registers of persons with disabilities, as well as a register of employers. The establishment of a hearing committee to review non-compliance, and the possibility of requiring non-compliant employers to be fined. Although the above-mentioned framework was progressive for its time, it could not be effectively enforced and implemented due to various reasons, amongst them our lack of staff and associated resources. The number of trainings conducted over the years has systematically declined, whilst reporting and compliance mechanisms have in turn remained weak. Madam Speaker, with regard to Part B of the question, first, as I previously informed the House in my reply to parliamentary questions B501 at the sitting of 13th May 2025, my ministry is currently working on reform initiatives for disability-related pensions. An employability element will be included in the new assessment model. Thus, the scope of the new assessment model will include, amongst others, a job capacity evaluation of the persons with disabilities, and the panel will channel all such cases to the Training and Employment of Disabled Pensions Board, or eventually to the National Empowerment Authority under the coming new law. We are expecting the first phase of the reform to be enforced very soon. Second, with the coming of the not yet proclaimed the Protection and Promotion of the Rights of Persons with Disabilities Act 2024, there will be a reviewed and employment quota, as well as new monthly contribution will be included for non-compliance employers to the quota system. Secondly, the Training and Employment of Disabled Persons Act, among others, will be repealed, and a single authority, namely the National Empowerment Authority, will be set up to take over its functions. Third, every employer shall provide reasonable accommodation to any employee who is the person with disability, unless the employer can prove that the required adjustment would unduly prejudice the operation of the trade or business run by such employer. And every employer shall submit an annual report to the authority on the employment of persons with disabilities employed in his organization not later than the 31st March of every year. Through these measures, this government is laying the foundation for a more inclusive labor market where persons with disabilities are able to access, retain, and progress in employment on an equal basis with others, thereby fulfilling both national commitments and international obligations under the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Dr. Bragg, you're okay? Okay, I think it would be a last question. Honourable First Member for Rodrigue.
3, please.
Madam Speaker, allow me to take the time of the House to underline once again that Rodrigue is an autonomous island operating under the Rodrigue Regional Assembly, Act 2001 and Section 26(1). Thereof provides that Rodrigue Regional Assembly be responsible for the formulation and implementation of policy in respect of matters relating to youth and sports. However, Madam Speaker, while respecting the autonomy of Rodrigue, I have always considered it my duty as Minister of the Republic to ensure that Rodriguan youth and athletes benefit from the same level of attention and support as their counterpart in Mauritius. From the very outset of my mandate, I have given special consideration to Rodrigues, recognizing the immense talent, determination, and potential of its young people. In this context, I have already undertaken 2 visits to Rodrigues. My most recent visit in early September 2025 was particularly significant. Its primary objective was to hold final consultation with a sports community of Rodrigues so that their specific concern and aspiration could be duly reflected in the provision being made for them in the forthcoming sport bill. At the same time, I had the distinct honor of personally handing over cash prizes to the Rhodesian athlete who so valiantly won medal at the recent CGSOE Games in Seychelles. In total, an amount of 232,000 was disbursed, benefiting 17 Rhodesian athletes and 3 coaches. Let me emphasize, Madam Speaker, that the CGSOE Games do not normally fall under the cash prize scheme of my ministry. In fact, in 2022, when the CGSOE Games were held in Mauritius, no cash prize was awarded to our medalists. Yet, in light of the remarkable performance of our national team in Seychelles, upon my selection, an exceptional allocation has been granted to our youth medal winners and their coaches in recognition of their efforts and sacrifices. The prizes awarded was as follows: 15,000 to each gold medalist, 10,000 to each silver medalist, 7,000 to each bronze medalist, and 7,000 to each coach, and 5,000 to each assistant coach. Madam Speaker, through this action, my message is clear. While Rodrigue enjoys autonomy in youth and sport matters, this government stands firmly by the side of Rhodesian youth. Their victory are our victories, their aspiration are our aspiration, and their development will always remain a national priority.
Another supplementary? Supplementary? No. Yes?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Will the Honourable Minister undertake to table details of the beneficiaries in Rodrigues?
I have the list. The list is long. I can table the list if you want.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Yes, Mr. Francois.
Yeah, Madam Speaker, thank you. The Honourable Minister mentioned that the sport bill is coming. May I ask him whether after he met the representatives of Mouvement Sportif de Rodrigue, he is agreeable to consider their request and proposal for the setting up of the cross forwards?
We are still in discussion with the people concerned, and like I said, the sport bill is coming very soon, and you will get an idea about what we are proposing.
Okay, I think we might stop here for lunch. We've got 2 minutes. We won't be able to go through another question. So I raise for 1.5 hours. Thank you.